Hey people, welcome to our live SMEUpturn business panel interview with Lady Biba. So she's with me here today and I'm really excited to have her on our panel session today. Remember how we do it? Feel free to ask questions as we go along. But to start off with, let me read out her profile for you guys so you know what she has been up to. So she is a leading fashion designer. Bisola Adeniyi is the CEO of the upscale women ready-to-wear brand Lady Biba. A graduate in economics, Bisola has an underlying love for the world of fashion. Her first years of training were from her aunt's fashion house. She later went on to intern with lots of fashion magazines and blogs, which included This Day Live and Style. After years of practice, the Lady Biba brand was born in 2013. And since then, the brand has been associated with more groundbreaking feats in the fashion industry. The brand has earned recognition over the years and won several awards in various fashion challenges. Through her brand, Bisola has been able to contribute to a more sustainable economic growth by creating employment opportunities for the Nigerian youth. Bisola, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Say hello to our Instagram viewers. You need to speak up though. They want to be able to hear everything that you're going to be saying, okay? All right, fantastic. All right, so tell us, how did it all start? Tell us about the Lady Biba brand. Tell us about your journey so far.
So my journey started with my love for fashion started as a child. It's the one thing that I've always known that I loved.
Right.
But going into it as a business was not intentional. So my plan was to finish my first degree, go for my second degree, get a job, and maybe do fashion on the side.
Right.
But as it happened, I finished my first degree and just said, let me do something like while I'm just home instead of just not doing anything.
Right.
And I went for fashion lessons. I learned how to cut. I learned how to sew.
Interesting. So you can actually sew?
Yes, you can. I mean, it's been
wow.
Right. Sewed any garment.
Okay.
But I wasn't really, to be honest, I wasn't really interested in the garment making process. But that basic education helped me to understand how to better communicate with my tailors,
right.
how I want a garment to be. So so I made my very first dress. I put it up on, then it was BBM that was
right. Those days.
Then I put it on BBM and I got a lot of responses, family, friends, oh my gosh, I love your dress. I want. But obviously at that time, my finishing skills weren't that great. But I saw that there was actually demand. So I was
in my house.
I got my tailor. My childhood tailor used to make our uniforms for us. I remember I got him to come down and I set up this little corner in our dining room.
Oh wow.
And I paid him and I told him, this is how many garments I want, this is how much I have. And he made it, and then I did this Facebook sale. Okay. And I called it a sample sale.
Right.
And then I think about everything was 5K or less, so it was affordable, and people bought. Right. And that was my very first venture into starting with Biba, but I didn't officially start till 2013 when I registered my business. Okay, I'm doing this full time.
Fantastic. So when you were dabbling into it and doing those samples and all of that, what year was that? Can you remember?
This was in 2011.
So you had started doing that in 2011 and getting your tailor to help out and all of that in the space in your around your dining room and all of that. And then 2 years later, you realize that, look, this is a meaningful business. I can actually venture into this and start. Okay, fantastic. So you registered your business. What was the structuring process like? What were the first set of things that you are now doing to, to show that yes, you're a proper business and people should take you seriously now?
Okay, so the very first thing we did, register my business. I got my uncle to do that because I didn't know any lawyer, like so green, and I was so like I didn't know what it was. I mean, my dad is a businessman, my mom is a businesswoman as well. Right. So obviously there was that, like I had that sort of say informal training because my dad was very particular about us going to his office. Right. So like I sometimes would be in his office. So I had seen what a structured workplace,
fantastic, and that's very important.
So I feel like even though it wasn't like formal training, but I feel like those little things also played a part in how I started my business. So yes, I registered the business. The very first employee that I got was a tailor. It was a Ghanaian tailor, and there's this space in my house that I was able to use. So so that was like the first thing that we did, and then we started to do trade shows, like exhibitions. I remember there was this exhibition that was like very popular back then. It was called Le Petit Marché. Right. That's French for the little market. Right. So that was like the hunting ground or the discovery place for new brands, because I myself used to go there to shop. So we would go there, and maybe I'll get my friends to go with me. Right. And we registered the business. I had my labels, I had my packaging, I had all of that set up already. So I feel that was the very first step that I took to show that, okay, I'm ready for business.
Fantastic. Interestingly, the last interview I did was also with a fashion designer, and his starting story sounds very similar to yours. So I'm beginning to see a trend, which is, that trend of just starting, just being bold, just, throwing your ideas out there so people can see it and respond to it, and you can, take confidence from that to continue to, so that's very interesting. Okay, so you started, what were some of the challenges that you faced, that almost, because that starting point is extremely important, and that's where some people aren't able to gain momentum because of those issues. So what were the initial challenges that you were facing when you started?
Okay, so when I first started, before I even decided that I was going to do it full time, this was even in 2012, I was still dabbling here and there. Yeah. I just finished an internship, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do an event. Right. It was a garden party, and I got other vendors. I got other vendors to join me. I even got a food sponsor.
Interesting. Exactly, boldness.
A food sponsor, and I was so happy that I think I was supposed to pay, but I was like, you know what? I just struck a deal with them. I've forgotten how I structured that deal, but I just got them involved. And the day came, I did, I put the flyers up, and I had the confidence from the sample sale that I did. Right, so right. I was like, oh, that went really, really well. So this one is going to be like, and I spent a lot of money, the venue, just even getting things right. And no one showed up. As in, no.
Oh my gosh. No. We have all been there.
Showed up.
We've all been there.
So it was the vendors, we're just looking at each other like,
wow.
Not one person came. I think the only person that shopped was the food vendor, the manager of the food establishment. Right. She just got like 2 items, and I was just
and you're like, bless her.
It was the worst.
Right.
And right after that, because the venue that we used didn't have a generator, so I had to take my generator. Yeah, so I don't know what happened. The driver didn't pack it because the car was full. There's just a lot going on that day, and he didn't pack my generator, so by the time we went back, it was stolen.
So not only did people not turn up,
and I lost it. I was just
like, what a day.
Oh my god, it was so discouraging. To be honest, from that point to like the next things that I did, I don't even know what happened. I feel like my brain has blanked out because I can't remember like what gave me the encouragement to say I'm still going to go ahead and do this, because that was like that point I'd not registered the business at that point, so that was a very, very good time for me to say, you know what,
I'm not doing this
like let me do something else. So till today I just wonder, where did I get that encouragement from to say, you know what, I'm going to do this again? And I did, and
so you picked up yourself and told yourself, you know what, we're in this for the long haul.
Yes,
Fantastic.
I've gotten used to disappointment in a way, because I feel like even you as a business owner, it's almost a part of the journey. Like you just learn to dust yourself up and dust yourself up and just keep going.
Fantastic. So when did we move out of home to get our first production?
What year did I move out? I think it just got to the point that my dad got tired of just seeing like strange people. First of all, I was sneaking the tailors in because our house was really big. So the guest room, like the guest room was at the back. So the tailor used to live there. My mom knew,
but your dad didn't.
So there was just a lot of anxiety. What if my dad finds out? And then, that tailor left because it was a Ghanaian tailor, so he didn't have accommodation. So I was able to get a Nigerian tailor that used to come in. And then he used to work in the penthouse of my house. So like the way my house is, he can see my dad. Like my dad, so my dad was just not comfortable with like people
coming into the house.
And that was when like I made my next move, and we moved into like a small space. And then we grew from there and up until like the really big space that we're in.
So interestingly, that story, I mean, the bit that you just mentioned about your dad not knowing is something that I can definitely resonate with. So I remember when I first got our building as well, when we first started our business, I was still working then. So I actually didn't tell my dad that, I had quit. So my dad still thought that for a full year I was still working. I couldn't summon up the courage to tell him. So I can totally resonate with that. Fantastic. Okay, so you got that place and now you're paying rent. You probably have bills to pay, right? And you're like, you know what, this thing is not a game anymore, because when you were still under your parents' roof, you had that space, you're probably not paying rent, probably not paying for electricity or any of those things. But now you had to move out, get a small place, pay rent, or at least buy diesel, and you began to have overheads and all. How were you able to like manage that? Maybe a mini shock at that stage that, so I have to pay all of these bills.
So to be fair, even while I was working from home, there's no way I was going to turn on our generator from morning till night because I was working. None that mom was even going to have that. So right from time, like I said, they stole my gen. So I had my small gen that I just put by the window, and I had to run like
your own line.
So I already started buying petrol.
I like that.
Yeah, because my parents, they're not one to like indulge me. Like I had to prove myself basically.
Right.
So so it wasn't that much of a shock, to be honest, and it was like a gradual thing because by the time we moved into the new space, I think we're at 2 tailors now, and then I had to employ like an office assistant, then it grew to 3 tailors. So it was a gradual process. It wasn't something that was just abrupt. It was
fantastic. There's a lesson I want to take from that. So the lesson is, because many people, when they start, especially in their homes, they do not treat it like a business. Do you understand? So I think if they have the mentality, that's what I'm learning from this, if they have the mentality that, you know what, I am still going to have expenses, so I'm still going to buy diesel and it's under the company's expense, and I'm still going to maybe even pay a portion of the rent and it's under the business expense, and so on and so forth. It sort of trains them to have a bit of structure. So by the time they even move out of their home and they have somewhere outside, they're a bit cautious. So I've learned that. Thanks for that tip. All right, fantastic. Now let's get into the tailors, because I know for a fact that many fashion designers out there, usually one of the biggest challenge is working with like tailors. because, they have a mind of their own. So they wouldn't, you tell them to do A, they're doing B, or they won't come to work on time, and so on and so forth. How have you been able to manage them over the years? Their temperament, trying to get them on the straight and narrow.
Okay, so for me, having a fair workplace
Fantastic.
is so important, very, very, I don't play with it. But when I first started, to be honest, I was a little bit naive because I had 2 male tailors then, and they really took advantage of me in the sense that they basically were dictating their hours, and they're dictating a lot of things. And I was kind of at their mercy.
Right.
Because they would say, that we have to start work at this time, we have to, and that way they were able to cheat me and just do a bunch of stuff. But I learned to be quite firm,
right,
and put structure in place. So meaning that work starts at 9, you should be at work at 9. If you don't show up at 9, there's going to be a consequence. So having consequences for actions, no matter how good a person is, if you take in people and you don't put
structure in place,
structure and boundaries and just guidelines,
setting policies.
You can create an enabling environment for indiscipline and just negligence. So for me, it's very important. We have rules, and sometimes we'll be like, it's not fair, blah 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 blah. But you just have to let them know that this is it, and you can either work according to this standard or you can't. So for for artisans, I know how difficult it can be, but when you have them under your umbrella, you have to educate. You have to. So we have retreats every year.
Fantastic. And
we try to inculcate trainings every quarter or so. So because this is very important, because people need to understand. If when you bring in someone, they're coming in with their own mindset. They're coming in with let me give an example. I remember when I first started, and I reached out to someone that's supposed to be a mentor, because she had built this big
brand, fashion
brand then, and she just gave me all this type of advice that tailors, you can never trust them, so you need to treat them. So it was very, very. She was coming from a place that people will steal, people will disappoint,
they'll take advantage of you.
So you have to be very harsh with them, and and the truth is, when you come from that mindset, you're going to attract
that kind of energy as well.
It's not that people haven't cheated, it's not that people haven't taken advantage of the kind of work environment that we have, but the truth is, you still meet people that understand the vision. You still meet people that understand what you're trying to do. So my own way of dealing with all this is just having structure in place and making sure that there are consequences for certain things when they go against.
Right.
Yes, and there's one tip I heard: fire quick and hire slow.
Right. Yes.
So when I'm employing people now, I look for certain things, not necessarily the skill set is important, but I also look at the social skills, the emotional skills, because emotional intelligence is very important.
Very important.
There was this tailor that we had that was so good. He was fast, his work was excellent, but he could not associate with any staff. He was always fighting. And because of his attitude, he created a very
toxic
environment, and people will come to work, there's it just created, and for me, the environment has to be good. So I always have that in mind, that make sure that the working environment is nice, everyone is treated well, there's respect, so that everyone, because you're going to spend more hours at work than you're going to spend at home anyway.
True.
So you should always want an environment that people want to come to. So that's our own selling point, that we're going to give you a very good working environment, but you have to adhere to the policies and the guidelines that we have set.
Fantastic. What I picked from that is structure as early as you can and build on that.
Yes.
So that when people come into the system, they know that there's already a structure in place.
Exactly.
And there isn't any how-ness here.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, tell us one early success story that sort of validated that yes, this is making sense, like it's happening?
Early success story. I think maybe one of the earliest success stories was being chosen to present with the vice president's wife's initiative in London.
In London, I thought you were going to say in Abuja.
So that was a really, really good opportunity. It was recommended to me by my mentor, and I got to showcase on the runway with her initiative. And the initiative also was really cool because it's about like training women from less privileged backgrounds to be able to get skills and empower themselves. And it was a very important moment for me because I was still very young, I was still very new, so it was a very defining moment for me.
Fantastic. So there's something you mentioned, you've said it twice now, mentor.
Yes.
So would you advise people that when they're starting their businesses very early on? I know some people say, yeah, people talk about mentors all the time and so on and so forth. Would you advise people that, it's actually important that you do get a mentor? Yes, there might be some that are not as useful to you as you would want, but the relationship should also be a give and take anyway. You're not meant to just be taking from your mentor. Now, if you could find somebody that would genuinely want to hold your hand through your early stages at least, would you advise people to actually?
Of course. I mean, mentorship has been very important in my journey. A lot of things that have happened for me came as a result of just someone remembering my name.
Right.
Because it's so important for your name to be mentioned in rooms where you're not present. So the mistake that people make is that people always think that a mentor has to be someone that is older than someone that is like known and like
popular. Yeah.
No, and then another thing is you can be mentored from books, you can be mentored from interviews.
True.
Some of the mentors I have in my life today were people that I followed their journey. I was watching their interviews, I was reading their stories. I was very, very particular about their journey, and I know that law of attraction thing is I don't know, but I do believe that
I really do.
I believe that when you position yourself, because I don't know, people think mentorship is all about popular people, so you post pictures. No, mentorship, a lot of things that have happened to me through my mentors, people don't even know. I have mentors that are mentor friends, and I have older mentors, and I have mentors in different areas, not just fashion, even personally, I like learning and I like getting advice from people that have actually walked the journey.
Right.
So it's so important to have someone. And the truth is, everyone is busy. So I don't think, some people have that. Some people have mentors that are very, very involved in their lives, but I don't have that. I only have different people that I reach out to from time to time, and they also check on me and say, oh, how are things going? And how is the business? So it's very important to have people in your life that can hold you accountable and that can give you advice when you feel stuck.
Fantastic. Very good advice. I completely agree with your line of thought as well. So I feel like when people even think that people that think that mentors are overrated, I feel like they miss out.
Sometimes I reach out to you.
Well, we do.
I'll call you because I know that you're an HR expert.
Yeah.
And when I have issues,
we do discuss.
Say, oh, this is my challenge. What should I do? So I think that's a form of mentorship because you're an expert in that area, and I'm reaching out to you to get advice, and that's literally my life. I don't have all the answers, and I always try to surround myself with people that know more than me in different areas.
And I think that's extremely important. One of the things that people don't do well enough is to reach out to people when they need help. Sometimes they feel like they need to do everything all by themselves. They need to figure it out themselves. Meanwhile, they can leverage on other people's experiences, and journeys. So yes, that's a good one. So let's talk about your brand. Your brand has become, you know, at least in the fashion world today, your brand has become one of those recognized brands. It's like a lifestyle brand. It's an aspirational brand. How have you been able to build that brand, you know, over the years?
I think with intention.
Okay, so, intention. I like that.
I've always known the type of woman that I wanted to dress, because I wanted to be that woman.
Tell me about
that woman. I wanted to be like a power woman, like
a boss lady.
Yeah, I saw myself working in like Fortune 500 companies. Like that was the vision that I had for myself. So it was only natural that I wanted to design for that woman. I didn't know that I was going to go into workwear per se.
Yeah. That
was like my vision, like I already knew. So it was so interesting to me to see the types of women that were like buying. And I was like, okay, and I saw like the similarities in the women, and I was like, you know what? It wasn't even like an active decision to design. Like I had it in my mind, but it wasn't like I wrote it anywhere that I'm going to design for power.
But guess what? It's the law of attraction, because it was in your subconscious that this is the sort of woman that you want to be, and this is the sort of woman that you're attracting. Do you understand? So I still believe in that law of attraction.
Okay, so basically, we start to see like a steady similarity in like the types of women that were shopping with Biba, and it was so interesting. We had this Dress the Part campaign in 2016, and the idea came to me because of like the feedback that we used to get from our customers. That, oh my God, imagine people buying from you and thanking you. You know, it's like
that's the heights.
And you're thanking me. Like that was how it was. Like, and I was like, you know what? Like people need to hear the stories of these women. And you know, people would say that, oh, I went into, like we get those stories. I went to this meeting, I felt so confident, I felt so powerful. Wow. Like I remember even my best friend, she told me that, like, thank you for using your gift, because I know how I feel when I wear a Lady Biba dress. Like she's always telling me she spends her money, like she's there's no familiarity of, okay, yeah, you know the business, she spends her money, and she even lives in America. So imagine just that, being able to say, oh, I need new Lady Biba dresses in my wardrobe. So that feeling that women get from wearing the dress,
the confidence,
that confidence,
the boldness,
so it can't be underestimated. So for me, that is really what has helped us with building our community, because it's women that want that, women that aspire to that. So we have young girls graduating from university, they're starting out in the corporate world, and they're buying their first Lady Biba dress for like maybe an interview, or they're buying it for their first day. Because we have a lot of people that say, oh, this is my first day at work, I need a Lady Biba dress. So we have that, and I'm so like,
so you have like a tribe going on now
for that.
So let's talk more about the community. You're at 40,000.
Yes,
I think 40,000. You just recently celebrated 40,000 followers on Instagram. That's laudable. It's not easy to get that kind of followership. How would you say, and apart from that actually, you also have celebrities. I have seen celebrities in Lady Biba. How have you been able to achieve that? So if somebody, because we all know that if celebrities are wearing your clothes, it's almost like a mark of approval. To say, yeah, this is fantastic, and this can actually compete with any other clothing line abroad, for example. You know, how have you been able to get like celebrities to like wear your brand? What are your tips and tricks, if you're willing to share like one or two for people that are listening out there?
Okay, so I think from the early we were actually discovered. I wasn't reaching out to.
Wow, fantastic.
The thing about a celebrity wearing your design is also media houses pick it up. So that way it gives more light. I think that also helps to like attract more celebrities to. So it wasn't that you did a lot of freebies, like you know, pick out celebrities and send it to them and say, please wear my. I feel like we're even open to that now. Right. Back then, There's no money.
And
I was literally hustling, so I wasn't even giving away.
So that means that your designs and quality of what you do actually spoke for you. So there's stylists out there that actually look for brands for their you know.
I feel like stylists are always looking for something new, something fresh. So if any new brand that's starting out, that's a good stuff across the celebrities and influencers through stylists.
So I also feel like you've the art of building communities and telling stories with your brand. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Like, what tips would you give people to be able to tell stories? You've also featured in a number of blogs, in nice magazines and so on and so forth. How can an aspiring fashion designer get into those blogs, get into those magazines, or tell their story? Like, what are your tips?
Storytelling. So for me, storytelling is obviously it's being studied in school today. It's like a marketing tactic. But for me, storytelling was like a part of it was just me sharing. Like, it wasn't even like a strategy to start with. It was just me like sharing my journey. This is something. So when I first started, one thing I always used to say is fashion is Lady Biba is my love letter to fashion. Wow. So I before I started designing, I was a fashion writer. I worked in magazines. So I had my own blog. Like, I used to write different articles that are very quirky, and that was like me just being in that industry and just sharing my love. So it wasn't, I come from a background of writing. I read a lot, so I write. Like, aside from designing, I like to write. So mine was more of an organic thing. Right. But now, storytelling is valued. Like, you see like Nike, you see brands like Apple, like when there's Coca-Cola, for instance, when there's something else that people can relate to, like, it helps solidify that relationship, because these days you can't just be a transactional brand. You can't just be buy, shop, buy. You will make money, but like, if you're thinking of building a brand that is going to be sustainable and outlive you, a brand that when people think of you, there's an emotion, there's something comes to their mind, then storytelling has to be a part of your content strategy. So as a new brand, I'll just say be authentic. Don't try to be someone else.
Right.
Because I see some new brands and I say, oh, this brand looks like this brand looks. You don't want to be the next
of something that already exists. Be you.
Yeah, like Beyonce is not the next Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
The next Diana Ross. Beyonce is
Beyonce, yeah.
So you have to be your own authentic self and just tell your story in a way that's relatable, and make sure always do online classes on storytelling, on writing, because writing is also
very
a
important
big part, because you have to be articulate and you have to be able to sell it in a way that people will understand. And there's so many resources even for free on YouTube.
True.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel.
Yes, I was going to touch on that. Tell us about following.
I have a YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel during the pandemic. I was bored, like I wasn't working, I wasn't doing anything, and it's something I wanted to do for such a long time. So I was like, you know what, if I don't do it now, So with my YouTube channel, things like storytelling, things like how to start your fashion brand, these are things I want to talk about, like things I want to share. Not even as an expert, more from like an experience point of view, and just like I call myself a rookie entrepreneur.
Even after all these years.
Yes, I think of myself because I'm constantly learning, and I like to share. Like, I'm actually a big sharer. Like, so people have said, are you sure you're not sharing too much on your channel? But the thing is, no matter how much you share, no one can take away what you have, and I believe that the more you give, the more you receive. So my YouTube channel is Bibi Adeniyi. Bibi,
so that's B-I-B-I Adeniyi
on YouTube. So I have some videos on there, and obviously I'm preparing more content. I post weekly, even though I haven't posted for the past 3 weeks or so. Get back into the swing of things. So things like that are things that I would share like in more detail. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So if you're interested, definitely follow her. She's taking subscribers and she's open to questions and whatever else you would like to know about her journey. Fantastic. Okay, so let's bring it to today. Your journey so far today. I know that you've opened an outlet, am I correct?
Yes.
In Lekki.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've seen pictures. I'm yet to go there. I definitely will visit very soon. I will come very soon. How has that been like? You know, so starting from the good old days in your dining room or around your dining area.
Yeah.
And now you have this nice outlet on the wall, and you're looking at it and you're telling yourself, you know what? Not bad, isn't it?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So when we first started, we were purely online, and people said you can never be successful if you're just online. Anyway, we proved them wrong.
Yeah, you did actually.
So we opened in September last year, and it's been like very, very good for us. And I was just like, thank God that I did this.
Yeah.
There was no moment that I was like, I regret opening a store. Because first off, there are people that only shop Lady Biba during events, and we have pop-up shops. And imagine we have pop-up shops like maybe once in like a quarter, and some people are not available that day. So we're missing out on potential sales.
Like leaving money on the table.
Yeah, and then there's also the fact that when you buy online, you can't fit.
Yeah.
So some people will be discouraged when you shop online and maybe the garment doesn't fit. But with the store, we can tell them, you know, your garment doesn't fit. How about you go to the store and try stuff on? And someone that wanted to buy like one dress before might buy. So I mean it's been very good for business. The store has been very good. I mean, aside from like Corona, Corona affected a lot of things.
Yeah.
People aren't going to shop physically anymore, but things have been picking up. We opened again in May.
Okay.
Yeah, and June, July has been good. Like it's been growing. So
speaking of Corona, it's a pandemic. It created a lot of obstacles for business owners and all of that. So regardless of the fact that it's a pandemic, businesses always have one obstacle or the other that they face. What's your advice in terms of keeping calm and navigating through those challenges? How do you handle such?
I always say take it one step at a time. Like don't obsess over like the things that you cannot control.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like when it first happened, to be honest, I wasn't even in a place to even give advice, because a lot of people were coming up with live sessions, how to deal with COVID, and I was like, really, have you guys been through a pandemic
before? Like, how would you know?
How would you know? Like, I was quite surprised by that, but I guess it's people's way of handling things. Some people keep quiet and some people will be more proactive. So I was more like I took time to just rest, and just like think things through, even with the business, because we had so many plans. And beginning of this year, I was like full throttle, like I was just full steam ahead. Like I had so many plans, big goals for this year. And so when the pandemic happened, it was just like
like everybody just stopped in their tracks.
When you stop, the car will. So that was literally what happened. Like, it wasn't a situation of like, oh, I had a strategy. It was like I never saw this coming. I don't know what to do. Like I literally did not know what to do, because it was like, so is it that all our plans, like, even as a business, you have projections.
Yeah, true.
Like,
we had all set goals for 2020.
Like when next things are going to. I'm happy. I'm not happy about the pandemic, but I'm happy that economic activities are like picking up. Because I don't know that a lot of businesses are closed up. I mean,
true.
Bigger businesses.
Yeah, true.
Bigger businesses are closing stores like all around the world. People are Like some businesses are even like completely shut down because of
this.
So I for one, I'm grateful that we're still in business. So that's another thing. Just be grateful for like the little things, little blessings. You're alive, you're healthy.
True.
Yeah, like so I'm grateful for all the things that haven't gone wrong.
True.
So so just taking it one step at a time and just counting your blessings.
True.
Yeah, just taking care of your health.
Okay, fantastic. So how do you plan your collections? Give us like 3 major tips that an up-and-coming fashion designer should be mindful of when they're planning collections.
So I have a very unstructured way of planning.
That's creativity.
I don't like to box myself when it comes to collection. So I actually sometimes design pieces, standout pieces, and then I find a way to like infuse
them together, right?
To tell a story with them, because that's my best way. But when I have to, sometimes I can create a collection just based off of like a theme or an inspiration. Like one thing for me that like I draw a lot of inspiration from is architecture and like furniture. Like I can design something just from like this glass bowl set.
Seriously?
Maybe like the curves.
Right.
Like I use
very insightful
things from outside of fashion to
inspire you.
And every time I design, I'm very, very mindful of the female form. So regardless of where my inspiration comes from, I try to make sure that the garment targets areas that maybe women are not so confident in, and like highlights like areas that women want to show off. So we're very, very mindful about like the body, because at the end of the day, for you to feel confident, you have to look nice in the dress. It's not just about the dress, it's about the woman in the dress. So I'm very unstructured. Sometimes I start with fabric, sometimes I start with a theme. It could even be like, for instance, before COVID, so we launched our LB Easy Wear line, which is like a line of casual wear. So the theme was going to be the French Riviera. Right. So like I love like how laid back and easy like French people
are. They are
with their style. So that was like the inspiration for the collection. But we had to change up a number of things because it was supposed to be like a holiday collection.
But people weren't going on holiday, unfortunately.
So we had to change things up. So in that instance, now that was a collection that was going to happen, but we had to change it. So I'm quite fluid with how I design.
Very important. Very, very. Okay. So next steps for Lady Biba. So hopefully, like you've mentioned, things are picking up. So where do you see Lady Biba in the next, fingers crossed, because yes, we're coming out of the pandemic and everything, maybe in the next like 5 years, like what are your plans? What do you want, what next for you? What do you want to conquer?
5 years, all I'm thinking is global.
Yay, you go, girl.
We're not trying to be local champions. We want to be global. So,
fantastic.
I'm seeing Lady Biba I'm seeing us dressing like powerful women like all over the world. I keep saying I'm going to dress Michelle Obama.
And it will happen. Law of attraction.
I believe in speaking out. Not just Michelle Obama, like powerful women like Serena Williams. Just women that have like made an impact and just like paved the way for other women to follow. Because that's really the essence of Lady Biba. It's about celebrating femininity, celebrating women like owning themselves.
Fantastic. All right, so as we're wrapping up, what parting shots would you give to the viewers out there, and we'll see if there are any questions.
Okay, parting shots, let me see. I'd say be your best self. You should be your own competition. I always say if anyone has watched my previous interviews, I always talk on that, like stop trying to, comparison is the thief of joy. So stop constantly trying to be someone else or comparing yourself to someone else.
Very important.
Things that people will never show you. So always own your own journey, own your story, and just like create your own narrative and just design the life that you want to live. And you have the power to actually design the type of life that you want to live.
Fantastic, fantastic. So thank you very much, but I want you to repeat your YouTube channel again and any other platform that people can find you on.
So Bibi Adeniyi, that's it, basically all the platforms.
So Bibi Adeniyi on all the platforms. Thank you so much for sharing your nuggets with us today. I definitely learned a lot. You've emphasized being bold, being confident, putting structures in place, telling stories with your brand. That's a big one for me. Building a community around your brand. That's huge. And most importantly, being your authentic self. Thank you, Bisola, for coming today. Much appreciated.